Okay, we're recording. Hey, everybody. Hi, filmmakers. Hi, audiences. Thank you for joining us here for another Q&A for the San Francisco Indie Shorts Fest 2022. This is the Q&A for the program. To be honest, we are very fortunate to have some of the filmmakers here with us. Hey, guys. Hey, filmmakers.
How you doing?
Um,
Thanks for joining
Hello.
us. Where are we calling in from?
Los Angeles here.
New York City.
This is Garrett. I'm also in New York.
Right on. Well, thank you. And we're in San Francisco here. Real quick, just so I get orientated with you, introduce you, tell me your name, your role in the film that you're involved with, and a brief description of what it is so I can kind of put your face to your movie. Whoever would like to be honest. Doug, I'll start with you.
Okay. Hey, I'm Doug Tompos. I'm the writer and director of Dotting the I, which is the short film about the two men late night in the office who share a kiss that changes their lives.
Great, thank you. And then John, how about you?
Yes, I'm John Robert Hammer. I directed To Be Honest, which is about two exes attempting to reconnect over a phone call, unaware they each have something to hide.
Thank you. And Garrett, yourself.
My name is Garrett. I'm the writer, director, producer, and the star of my film. It is about a deaf man who sees this really cute guy and tries to figure out the best way to communicate and flirt.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Again, congratulations. Thanks for being here, and congratulations on making your film and getting selected.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So, inspiration. I'll start with you, Garrett, since the screen is on you. What was your inspiration for the film?
My own life, really.
And
Often I've been sitting on the subway in New York and I would see this really cute guy and they'd be reading a book. Letting you know I'm a writer. So I read, I love books. And I always want to go up and say, hey, what do you think of that book? How do you like that book? Oh, I love this one. It's one of my favorite. But I never do because I'm always afraid of trying to figure out how to communicate. So should I write? Should I type back and forth with them? Should I gesture? Because most of the time, the other people don't know how to sign. So I just decided to go ahead and not talk to that person. And I wanted to show what that experience looks like with my film.
and you did that well. And it's a wonderful and a beautiful film. Again, I said, I don't really remember details, but yours did stand out. I actually remember details of all your films, surprisingly, even though I may have watched them 3, 4 months ago. Like Cavalier and Clay, a favorite book of mine, by the way.
Yeah, it's a great book. And I only see people reading that specific book, and I always want to talk with them. So that is why I had to put that in the film.
I have it on my bookshelf. It's a keeper. And then, John, how about you? What was the catalyst for your idea?
So my situation was a little different in that I wasn't the writer of the script. A good friend, Liana Stonenclar, was the one who wrote the script.
Okay.
But in the years leading up to the making of this particular short, I found myself involved in a really destructive, traumatic, quasi-romantic entanglement. I will spare you the details, but it's the kind of situation where you can't really claim to have had the moral high ground. And I found myself sifting through that wreckage in the midst of the pandemic, which is a time when a lot of people were asking themselves in many different ways, if we could go back to the way things were. And it's while I was sifting through that my friend Daniel Kirby passed me Liana's script, and I immediately saw an opportunity as fast as I've agreed to direct something.
So kind of a timing of opportunities and coincidences that inspired you to do it then.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Excellent. We'll talk more about that maybe. And then Doug, what made you make this film?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of a combination of things. Like, personally, yes. I mean, I've just noticed in our time that there's a kind of fear of intimacy. And I love these films because they're all about kind of taking a risk to be honest, or the cost of not being honest. And in the gay world, like this kind of lack of intimacy and this kind of fear of even kissing sometimes. And so I had watched Casablanca, and there's several references to Casablanca in my film later in the film. And that song, you know, you must remember this, a kiss is still a kiss. And I was like, is it? You know, and Hollywood Kiss, I was like, what does a kiss still have the power to, like, one kiss change our lives? And then I was in a writing group for actors, and I was assigned the two actors in my film to kind of write something for them. And so this kind of combination of, like, I knew Miguel, his love for poetry, and he had this sweetness about him, and Jeff, you know, I also worked with. And so then I was like, what would be the story that these two men kiss? And it really became this kind of, I don't know, lovely vehicle, I thought, to explore, like.
So those two actors that are in your film were in the acting class, the writing class, or?
Yeah.
Oh,
We
wow.
all kind of wrote for each other for a while,
Yeah.
and it was like, this kind of developed them. And as I developed it, I really wanted to make sure that it wasn't just one man who was changed by the kiss, but it's not even a romantic kiss, it's a platonic kiss in a way that just comes out of need, and how it kind of brings one guy back to his life, you know, the guy who's about to cheat on his husband, and brings the other one out into his life. And so anyway, that was where it kind of came
Right
from.
on. And you all, maybe Garrett, let me ask you this: was it filmed during the pandemic, or did the pandemic have any influence on your short? Because John and Doug just mentioned pandemic coincidences, so it seems like all films here were affected by the pandemic, if you will. Garrett?
We actually filmed this in September of 2019. So it happened just before the pandemic, but we planned to edit in the spring of 2020. And obviously the pandemic hit, and that ended up delaying us for a year. So we didn't really finish editing until last year of 2021, when we could get back together and get back in a room together and be able to edit, because I didn't edit, I had an editor. So to be able to meet up and figure out how we could work together. So it was kind of like we started before the pandemic, but the pandemic interrupted our process. And because of the pandemic, it ended up taking longer to finish the film.
Right. Yeah, it almost is like this turned out, just looking at these films together, it's like, oh, wow, the pandemic is a theme in this program. I didn't even plan on that, but it is. John, do you want to talk about the pandemic and your filming your short, making your short?
Yeah, this was definitely designed as like a small little tiny project that we can do while, you know, everything was shut down. You know, because, you know, it's just you know, Kirby, Liana, and Anna, you know, who's playing Kirby's partner at the current moment, and you know, very tiny and stripped back. The irony with the project is that Liana's script was written before the pandemic. It was something she tried to get off the ground a few years ago, and you know, things happened. There was discussions on between the three of us about whether we would, like, you know, make this in pandemic world, as Liana called it, or whether we would, like, keep that out of the background. I was the one who pushed to you know, bring out the masks and, like, just bring out that subtext, because as I said before, I saw that, you know, a lot of people were wanting to return to different things during the pandemic, and I just thought that was a subtext we could pounce on.
Yeah. And Doug, did you watch Casablanca a lot during the pandemic, or rewatch, I should say, or how did the pandemic affect your short film?
Well, I was watching a lot of classic films, and you know, that's a film I know very well. You know, it's one that Robert McKee in his story seminar, like, totally dissects, and so I've done that. And it just, you know, there's a lot of influences from it, but yes, I mean, I was watching a lot of films during the pandemic, and so the lighting, you know, we wanted the kiss between the two men to look almost exactly like, although not in black and white, but lit and everything like the Bogart
No.
Bergman kiss. It's very fun of film noir lighting, but with color, the romantic color. So I was really trying to balance like this kind of film noir world of one person and this desire for romance of the other person, and then coming in and out of shadows and light. So, but definitely influenced by, yes, that film.
Well, all three of you, you're inspiring me for other questions. All three of you definitely create a sense of space too. We were in that cafe for flirting. We were in your, was that a production facility, video
Yeah.
production facility, and after hours, and we were, in New York City to be honest, is that what you guys were going for? Because you really created a sense of space. Want to talk about that, Doug? Since I'm on you.
Yeah, I mean, the challenge for me was, I'd written the script, but then that was as a writer, and then as a director, I was like, well, now I have to express this visually. And so this place that I found to shoot in really lent itself to these hallways and turns and shadows and isolated places. And so they both kind of emerge from shadows. At the end, they disappear down this long hall into the shadows. And so
added to the noir aspect of your mood.
Yeah, and so to take one simple conversation between two men, but actually then break it up through the space to make it more visually interesting, and also just tell the story through that space. So yeah, it was a fun challenge to kind of have that move through everything.
Nice. And how about the cafe? I felt like I could have ordered a latte.
Yeah.
Garrett?
Yeah, it was really important for me to have visual distinctions between the real world and this fantasy world. So in the real world, it obviously happens in the cafe. And then in that fantasy world, it happens in Grand Central Station.
Mm-hmm.
And when I wrote it, I mean, Grand Central is one of the most iconic locations in New York. So I wanted to make this a very New York production. And when I wrote it, I was like, I don't think we will be able to get permission to film in Grand Central. No way. But my producer, I love her. She was like, no, we can do this. And I was lucky because she works on many productions for film and TV. And she actually just worked on Bros, that's out right now. And she knew people who were able to get us permission to film in Grand Central. And for me, that was amazing. That made the film.
Score. I want that producer's name. And John, did you get permission for filming on the subways of New York? We won't tell anybody if you didn't.
No, we didn't. We didn't have permission.
How about you? Location, creating that sense of space in your locations. How challenging? Any stories about it?
Yeah. Well, we were we kind of it was a challenge finding, like a subway station that would like not only fit the story, but would also be practical to shoot in. We wound up going with the Bedford Nostrand station on the G train, because first of all, if you're in the city, the G train is the most neglected subway line there is. Like there's the least amount of chance of like people sneaking up on us. And then we had to take out all the transfer stations, then all the stations that were only one platform. And we wound up with Bedford Nostrand because it had this unique layout of the two platforms and the three tracks. It was both a place that felt spacious enough that we could have a sense of scale and that cinematic quality, but it also a place that was intimate enough that we could hide. So it was really, really great.
So that leads me to my next question. Were there challenges for any of you guys, and what were they? John, I'm on you right now. So what were some of your challenges making this short at any stage?
The biggest logistical challenge was pulling off the subway shoot, obviously. The biggest creative challenge for me was working with Kirby and Liana, because I really wanted, I wanted the audience to get a sense of a history behind this relationship, this chemistry between the characters. And so what we wound up doing was we met up for a few weeks before the shoot, and we just had the two of them running through scenes, not going over the script, but just like improvising different stages of the relationship, you know, where they met, different dates, you know, like different fights, the actual breakup, and you know, just creating that arc of the relationships that when it's time for them to actually, you know, be in the scene trying to maybe, you know, rebuild that relationship, they're drawing on a shared memory. And we did not record any of those rehearsals, which is probably the single dumbest decision that I made in this
so
film.
let me back up. So how many rehearsal days did you have?
3.
3, and you wish you recorded some of those.
Yeah, because these two really got in the zone. Like they really tapped into something great.
That reminds me, I don't know if you guys saw Flirting with Disaster, the famous popular movie about indie filmmaking where, you know, the greatest interaction between the two actors are off camera and the director gets frustrated. Anyways, thanks for that. Garrett, some challenges making your movie?
Well, I think honestly, my biggest challenge was developing a rhythm and a vocabulary as a deaf filmmaker, because my set was a fully deaf space, meaning that everyone there signed. There was nobody using their voice. Everyone was signing around the set. I mean, most of my cast and crew were either deaf or they knew sign.
Wow.
So that was the primary language on set, and that is really rare. So that doesn't happen often. And just trying to figure out how to navigate that kind of environment and make it work for a fast-paced film process.
Let me ask you, are you a first-time director? I don't know. I didn't pay attention.
Yes, this is the first time directing.
Wow. Good job.
Yeah.
And it doesn't help that I was also the lead.
Right.
So I was acting and then directing and running back and forth.
Oh,
but
my.
I'm really lucky. I'm so thankful I had an amazing team behind me of friends and peers that really believed in me and supported me and really helped make this happen.
Yeah, that's part of the process of getting a good film made is collaboration with talented and people that have the believe in your vision. Doug, challenges.
You know, it's always time. You know, it's like we had a very, very short amount of time in this space to shoot the film.
Can I interrupt you, Doug, real quick? Because you just inspired me to ask Garrett a question. I'll come back to you, Doug. So was timing slower, different because of an all deaf set? Is the pacing more comfortable? Was it different anyhow? In any way?
It was faster than we would have liked. We had a limited time in the cafe and a limited time in Grand Central. And I think we only had about 3 hours in Grand Central and about 2 days in the cafe. And that's it.
Wow.
So we had to finish everything. And that was hard to balance to make sure that everybody was good, but at the same time, keep up the pace.
Right. And Doug, I'm sorry to interrupt, but that's, you know, inspired me to ask Garrett that question. So
yeah,
no, speaking about that.
It always is, you know, this film came out of a unique kind of situation in that, like I said, it was part of this writers actor collective. And what we ended up doing, which is crazy, we shot 12 films in 3.5 days with the same DP and the same sound person. Wow. Working on all our films. And so I had literally 4.5 hours to shoot my whole film.
Wow.
In that space. I was able to do the set design, you know, and everything. So that was a challenge. And so all my shots were really designed for the most economical, like we had down to the second, we were taking 2 takes maybe, but I had to be very specific about my shot list and what order we were going to shoot it in to get the coverage I needed. The actors were very well rehearsed, you know, and then we had to just go. And so capturing that kiss was like, if I don't get this kiss in like one take with the camera perfect and the lighting, we don't have a film. But I think the
That's
most,
amazing. And you got it in one take.
yeah, well, that we had one rehearsal and then that was the take. And I was like, guys, you got to go for this kiss right now. And it's one long take and they talk afterwards. And it's, a lot of you'll notice in my film, if you go back, it's like, there's a lot of held 2 shots because I didn't have time for coverage. And I was like, but I think this works with the story to have them sharing these long moments together. But the creative challenge, the fun part was the lighting. I loved working with DP on capturing, like I said, this sense of them moving in and out of their truth into shadows and light. And then like when they're on the couch for a long period of time, they're both in half shadow, half light, half in and out of their worlds. And it's subtle, and I don't want people to let go. I notice your lighting, but I am pretty proud of like being able to capture that and to really use the lighting. And we had to change all the light fixtures, everything in the whole place to capture the right amount of,
Yeah.
from the fixtures and shadows and stuff. So
Yeah, that's time consuming, but it definitely works, and you've created an emotion, a sense of feeling and emotion.
thank you. Thanks.
Yeah, compatible to the story and the characters. So we gotta wrap this up pretty soon. Like I said, short and sweet. Doug, did you learn anything? You've made other films, but maybe personally or as a filmmaker?
This is only my second film.
Okay.
And yeah, it's always, you learn so much. I mean, as a director, I've been an actor most of my life. And so I've learned that humility is your best kind of asset, to be able to say, this is what I do know, but I don't know this, so I need help, right? Not trying to be a know-it-all, and really trying to let people, whoever you collaborate with, your DP, even your AD, anybody on the set, to say, your job better than I do. So let's all work together. And that to me has been a great learning process, the truly collaborative kind of like trusting people to do their work. And
It's kind of, I've been on many sets. It's kind of hard to find that consistently on movie sets. People are guarded, if you will, or
well, and panicked and desperate, and like we're running out of time, and egos get involved. But I really had to say, look, with my DP, I was like, I don't know what lens, I don't know, and can we do this, and how do we do this? And so I think humility is just something to keep learning throughout the process.
Yeah, keep reminding ourselves. Well put. John, how about you? Are you any different now that you made this short? Have you recovered from your tough relationship?
I've definitely recovered from that, made
Good.
peace like what happened, and just, yeah, honestly, making this project was just like such a whirlwind, between just we were racing to get this done and to get this made, and I was like throwing myself into it, to avoid facing some other things. But now that I'm on like the other side of it, I'm like incredibly grateful for like Kirby and Liana for like and Liana especially for like letting me direct this, and like everyone else, and like the cast and the crew, because like we kind of I feel like we created something with this particular short. I'm not even entirely sure what this is, but I'm incredibly happy. I'm incredibly happy that we were able to pull this off. So
Me too. And audiences too.
Yeah.
Garrett, how about you? What have you learned? A first-time filmmaker, I know. Well, you learned many things filmmaking. How about filmmaking and personally?
Yeah, I mean, I learned that I have to forgive myself for not being perfect.
Mm.
I mean, now it's funny because it's 3 years after we first shot the film, and I watch it and I'm like, oh, I wish I would have done this. I wish I could have changed this and that, but you can't go back. You really just have to apply it and hope that you have a chance to make another film where you can learn more. And I'm also a playwright. And every time I'm writing a play, I learn something. even if it's the first, the fifth, the 10th play, it doesn't matter. I learn something new every time. So really, I feel like art is a constant learning process. And I'll never feel like, oh, I know all there is to know. I'm done.
That's so true.
So it's about the power of being applying that and being open to learning how to collaborate with people.
Well put. And I can say from experience that never changes. You know, as a playwright, like you said, as a filmmaker, you always look at your projects and you just at one point have to say, we're finished, even though it still needs adjusting. John, if you get that sensation too, the things you like to change in your film?
Oh yeah, no, I get that a lot. You know, even on this project, there are like things that I wish I did differently or like had more time to like adjust. But you know, like this, you know, this scratched a particular itch, and you know, this fulfilled a particular need, and this now exists in a state that, you know, works really well. And so I feel it's always best, instead of like ruminating over like, you know, past projects, you know, what you could have done, what you could have maybe not done, you know, it's just best to just move on to the next one.
Yeah. That's the best remedy to help you move on to your things that you see, is just make the next project.
Yeah.
Doug, things you'd change, or did you perfect it? You nailed it, your vision.
No. I think it was interesting because actually I had a hard time finishing it because, you know, we did have a short amount of time and there were things that I wasn't completely satisfied with at first. And when we first edited it, I was only able to really see what we didn't get. And then I had to put it away for a while. And then I showed it to a friend after a long period, and I could actually see it for what we did get and what we did have. And so then I was able to finish it and really hone what we did have. And then I'm very satisfied with how it came out. It was just interesting that at first I was still had all the subjectivity about some of the challenges, about some of the difficulties, things I didn't feel like we captured it as I envisioned it. But then with editing and everything, we were able to really bring out that vision. So you do make your film 3 times, you know, you write it, you shoot it, and then the editing, like, man, it's amazing what can come together. So
And then it's still, even like the film becomes what it wants to become. It's like there's those 3 parts you change, but then it still does its thing. You know?
yeah. So
Well, that's all the time we have. Do you guys want to add any last comments that I didn't inquire about or say anything? Doug, I'm on you, so go ahead, and if you want to add anything.
well, I don't know if we have time, but I was just fascinated, Garrett, with your film, the music, because the music is such a big part of it, and I love the references in the score to like Rhapsody in Blue and these iconic New York Gershwin-esque kind of music, and yet that must be very challenging, like, to not be able to hear that. And then you guys sing at the end, and you sing beautifully, actually, and it's in the rhythm and everything. I'm just curious about music and how you work with that as a deaf person.
Thank you. I mean, I'll talk briefly. I know we're running out of time. But yes, I don't know if you noticed, but the song at the end is actually 2 actors singing. It's the guy that I had been attracted to, and then the superhero. So those are the 2 voices singing. And I told my producer, Dana, that I wanted to have an old-fashioned love song from way back in the 1920s. And we found that one. We got the rights to make it on cover, and we wanted to do it between 2 men, and an old-fashioned love song between 2 men. And my friend, who is brilliant, a brilliant writer, director, we've been friends for 20 years. He's hearing. And I had asked him because I knew that I could trust him, and he actually signs as well. He signs really well. So he gets deaf culture. And we worked together really closely, and I explained exactly what I wanted to have, the feeling that I wanted to have.
Mhm.
And he wrote the score as well. So I actually took my script I typed out a breakdown and saying, I want this scene to feel like this. I want this scene to feel like that. And I really broke down the mood, and he just went ahead and wrote the score. And for me as a deaf filmmaker, it's hard to have that element in my film because I can't hear it or experience it or control it. I have to just let go and trust the person to put it in and hope that it fits my film. So that's why I picked a really good friend who I felt like I could trust. And then I had asked other hearing friends of mine, what do you think of this? Do you think it sounds right? Does it match? So I really had a good pulse from everyone to check with people and see that it was good until I felt satisfied and comfortable.
It's really beautiful. It really supports your film tremendously. So, and I did get the references to the songs that he's, kind of sampling in the score. So it's really beautiful.
Thanks for adding that, Doug. Garrett, oh, go ahead.
We were really lucky to get the rights for that song. It was beautiful.
Garrett, any final comments that I didn't maybe inquire about that you want to say? Or anything you want to add?
No, I'm good. I'm really happy to meet all of you. And I hope that maybe we'll be able to meet in real life someday.
Me too. And John, any parting words, last but not least?
I do have one question for Garrett. Because I know, because the movie that you made, there's, comic books and like superheroes are like a very prominent motif, throughout. You already mentioned earlier that you're like a huge fan of Cavalier and Clay, as you should be, because that book's fantastic. But I'm curious where the inspiration for that particular theme came from.
First, it's from the book. And I hate boring, old-fashioned subtitles. I wanted something more artistic that would be able to access the dialogue. And I thought that comic strips popping up would be something that was more of an artistic way to show dialogue instead of just having captioning.
Yeah, it really worked really well. Having those the bubbles pop up, occasionally plastered over by the indistincts like that worked really well.
That was enjoyable. Well, I also hope I meet you guys in person someday, and I wish we had more time because this is a really good Q&A. You guys are wonderful. Congrats on your films. Thanks for submitting to our festival, and congrats on making the films and getting into the festival. Hope to meet you in person someday. All right, everybody, that's all the time we have. Thank you, everybody, for watching. Please support indie film and check out more indie films shorts at sfindie.com. All right, everybody, have a good day. Ciao.
Good day.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.